Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on KPAX, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, I'm Kent Lutzen, and happy Veterans Day to all those who have served. Dozens of veterans and their families gathered today for the American Legion Post 101 and the Old Post Veterans Day ceremony. This is the 99th year they have held this event, and for the first time it took place at Fort Missoula Regional Park. Missoula Mayor John Engen, representatives for Senator Daines and Senator Tester, and many others thank those who have and are currently serving our country. Both the commander and vice commander of Post 101 spoke about how getting veterans involved with their communities and that can help combat suicide. They reminded people that Montana has the highest rate of veteran suicide across the nation.
They're looking for reasons to live and they're running out. And each and every day we have veterans deciding they have no more reason to live. And to me, that's a national tragedy.
After the ceremony, vets and their families headed over to a Grizz football tailgate hosted by the Montana Military Order of the Purple Heart. In addition, students and their families, police, fire, EMT, smoke jumpers, and all students who volunteered during this year's fire season joined them. In addition to the tailgate, veterans and emergency responders were also given free tickets to today's Grizz football game. MTN's Lauren Heiser has more on this story.
To honor not only veterans, but everyone who protects and serves, the University of Montana gave them the opportunity to attend today's game for free. More than 800 wildland firefighters, emergency responders, veterans, and their family members attended the game against the Northern Colorado Bears. Local sponsors, Grizzly Athletics, and the University of Montana all worked together to raise the money.
You know, it was really a community effort. A lot of people pitched in, a lot of donations came through, and the DNRC firefighters and the firefighting community around Missoula really responded to our invite.
UM President Sheila Stearns said that UM wanted to provide those who serve with the opportunity to spend time with their families.
All we wanted to do is say thank you guys, and thank you to the people who, like I said, protected our communities all year long in the forest fire season and protect our community and our country every day at home and abroad in our military.
The Grizz seniors were also honored at today's game. Now back to you.
And speaking of those Grizz football players, the University of Montana Grizzlies took on the Northern Colorado Bears this afternoon and gave plenty of reason for the fans to cheer. Eric Clements joins us live with more on the big game. Eric?
Yeah, that's right, Ken. And today was actually the final home game for the Grizzlies of this season. And Montana came out early and hard against Northern Colorado. The Grizz were determined to make up for their loss against the Bears last year. They jumped out to an early lead, but the Bears caught up by the end of the half. But of course, the Grizzlies pulled through. Now, we'll have full coverage of tonight's highlights coming up in sports.
Thanks, Eric. Those who attended the big football game or spent the afternoon outside were greeted with some cloudy weather. But is this weather expected to last? Let's go to our Storm Tracker Weather Center with meteorologist Russ Thomas for more. Russ?
The answer is, for the most part, yes, it is expected to last. We may get a little sunshine tomorrow, but overall, in the big picture of things, it's going to continue to be more clouds and sunshine and even some fog out there tomorrow morning. First Security Bank iCam in the Bitterroot Valley showing what we saw basically all across western Montana all day long, and that was cloudy conditions. Sun did try to poke through a couple times. It made it out there maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time. Not very much, though. Here's what we've got as far as our temperatures go. Lots of mid-30s. 36 from Missoula, 37 Polson, 37 degrees in Thompson Falls. A little cooler in Phillipsburg and Seeley. We'll have your complete forecast coming up.
Thanks, Russ. There are a pair of phone scams that are making the rounds in the Bitterroot Valley. Ravalli County Sheriff Steve Holton says that some people are being contacted by telephone and told that a relative, usually a grandchild, have been arrested in another jurisdiction. The caller will demand that the resident provide a credit card or wire money to provide bail for their relative. Holton said that the people should contact their relatives and confirm with the law enforcement agency before ever sending money or providing payment information. Sheriff Holden added that another situation people have encountered is where a caller will identify themselves as a satellite television provider and offer to either remotely align the dish or fix some other reported problem with the resident's service. The provider will require additional billing or payment information and withdraw money from the resident's account. According to Sheriff Holton, folks should refuse to provide any information and contact their satellite provider independently before providing any financial information. And Lake County crews battled a house fire in Polson late last night. The blaze hit a home on the 500 block of 10th Avenue West. Fire officials report that everyone inside the home at the time made it out safely. Crews from the Polson City, Polson Rural, and Findlay Point Rural Fire Departments fought to get the blaze under control. The cause of this incident remains under investigation. The canines in law enforcement have big responsibilities, but their handlers have the responsibility of keeping them safe. MTN's Caitlin Corbett tells us about a program aimed at keeping our furry friends safe while on the job.
And it was a gap we needed to fill, so we did.
Trained canines make up an important part of local law enforcement. From search and rescue to drug detection, these dogs do it all. But some of their tasks can make for dangerous situations where help could be hours away. That's why the group Canine Medic made its first trip to Heart of the Valley Animal Shelter in Belgrade this weekend to give handlers and professionals from as far as Utah and Wyoming hands-on training to keep their canines safe while on the job.
So we're teaching all the handlers here today how to deal with traumatic injuries for their dogs, how to deal with heat and cold injuries. We're teaching them how to better be able to manage any types of illnesses that might come up in the field, bloat, tension pneumothoraxes, all kinds of different things.
Throughout the training, the handlers use these stuffed but pretty realistic looking dogs to practice medical procedures for emergency situations.
It's an excellent opportunity to get a little more in-depth first aid. We do search and rescue in wilderness settings all over the place, actually, and this will really help us for emergency situations to protect our partners.
Founder of Canine Medic Joanne Brenner says that this training can give handlers the confidence to make sure their furry partners are in good hands while on the job.
The biggest thing we're here is to make a difference for their dogs. And so the biggest thing is that they can prevent many of these injuries from ever happening in the first place, that they can support their dog when they're in the field, and ultimately if that emergency does strike, that the handler knows that they have the confidence to take care of their dog when their dog really needs them.
The participants will go through one more day of training where they will learn more advanced techniques for extreme situations. Reporting in Belgrade, Caitlin Corbett, MTN News.
In national news, on his first Veterans Day in office, President Trump tonight is in Vietnam. At his state dinner, the president praised Vietnam as one of the great miracles of the world. Mr. Trump, meanwhile, says he received another denial from Vladimir Putin about election meddling. Does he believe it? Here's Margaret Brennan.
Presidents Trump and Putin appeared friendly during a two-day economic summit in Vietnam. Later, aboard Air Force One, the president told reporters that he asked Putin once again about U.S. election interference. He said he absolutely did not meddle in our election. He did not do what they're saying he did, the president said. I really believe when he tells me that. He means it. Last year, the U.S. intelligence community concluded with confidence that Russia's senior-most officials had directed cyber attacks, which targeted the email accounts of top Democrats.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you.
Mr. Trump had previously brought it up when the two leaders met at the G20 summit in July. Today, the president called the hacks an artificial Democratic hit job and said it gets in the way, and that's a shame because people will die because of it. The president seemed to be suggesting that Democrats were preventing him from brokering a deal with Putin to end the ongoing war in Syria. Russia remains a patron of dictator Bashar al-Assad. But today, the U.S. and Russia released a joint agreement that sketches out a proposal for a political transition in Syria.
We are not going to let the United States be taken advantage of anymore.
Mr. Trump left the economic summit in Da Nang without holding any bilateral meetings or brokering any breakthroughs on trade.
I will make bilateral trade agreements with any Indo-Pacific nation that wants to be our partner.
11 other countries, including Canada and Japan, forged ahead without the U.S. to write new terms for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the largest free trade agreement in history. Mr. Trump pulled out of it shortly after his election.
We've been talking about this for a long time.
That free trade deal was meant to counter China's economic dominance here in Asia. Vietnam's largest trading partner remains Beijing. Tomorrow, the president will discuss how to build U.S. business ties here. Margaret Brennan, CBS News, Hanoi.
Coming up, will this cloudy weather stay? We'll find out because after the break, meteorologist Russ Thomas will be in with a look at tomorrow's forecast. Plus, a group of llamas is working to cheer up the elderly. That story up next.